Is FEMA making it public because of our reporting?
NBC2 was the first in this area to make that connection.
Where is the money that customers paid you?
Well, in various places.
Even after the 5% increase, Florida State Troopers are still among some of the lowest paid in the country. Doesn't that seem more like a cause for concern than celebration?
What organization are you guys with?
New Life.
Where does the money go?
We feed clothing and help needy families, ma'am.
It's a story that sounded all too familiar, probably because we already heard it last year.
It's the New Life Christian Ministries, ma'am.
These groups of solicitors claim to be members of New Life Christian Ministries.
Where's New Life based out of?
Why?
Because I'd like to know if it's a real organization or if you're taking these people's money.
Go online. You'll see newlife.org.
So we did. newlife.org. That's a church in Massachusetts.
I'm just trying to find out if you're in any way affiliated with solicitors who would be collecting money down here in Fort Myers, Florida.
Nope. We also check newlifechristianchurch.org, and that's a church in New Hampshire.
And you do not have anyone from your church who would be collecting money here in Florida?
Neither church knew a thing about these Fort Myers solicitors who were supposedly collecting money on their behalf.
Are you going in?
This little boy loves jumping on the trampoline and playing outside with his mom, Sandy. But life is not always fun and games.
He can't communicate with other people.
10-year-old Dominic Leibel has nonverbal autism. He has meltdowns, but his mom says he's never hurt himself or anyone else.
A kiss? Thank you.
That's why she was shocked to learn that he'd been taken from his Tampa school in January and involuntarily committed.
I saw them pull up in the police car, and I saw them carry Dominic out. His hands were cuffed behind his back. I felt like there was no compassion. Are you gonna tie it?
Under the Baker Act, Dominic was placed on a psychiatric hold, one that could have lasted up to 72 hours, because his school resource officer believed that he was a threat.
I didn't get to see him. They refused to allow me to see him. I didn't get to see him until later that evening. Juvenile Baker Acts have increased 49% statewide over the last 5 years. And in Southwest Florida, the growth is even more stunning. 170% increase in Collier County, 136% increase in Lee, and 97% in Charlotte County.
As it stands right now, do you think there's a problem in Florida with the Baker Acting of children?
I do. I think the percentage number is really alarming.
Last year, a state-funded task force spent months researching why the numbers are jumping. Public Defender Kathleen Smith was among its members. And while she says it's not possible to identify one root cause, she says social media, cyberbullying, and mass shootings are contributing factors.
The Baker Act really is only supposed to be used when there are no less restrictive alternatives that are available in the community. In Lee County, we do not have a comprehensive outpatient service network for children to access.
NBC2 investigator Rachel Polansky spent months studying how the state handles these sexual harassment claims.
It's a big bill that most people probably don't know they're paying for. Since 1997, the state has settled 253 sexual harassment settlements, quietly costing taxpayers $8.2 million.
That's when things started going south.
Behind these walls,
Hey, it was a struggle, though.
there are dark and ugly secrets.
They'd hear the cart and they'd start as soon as we rounded that corner.
Inmates
Catcalling us and all kinds of things.
exposing their genitals and masturbating at nurses.
And when I'd walk by his cell, he'd be doing these nasty things with his fingers and his tongue,
and nurses
it was horrible.
being told to deal with it.
It was daily. Every time we went down there.
Kathy Rudolph worked at the Washington Correctional Institution near Panama City in the 90s. And while bad behavior by inmates may be expected, it's what she says her bosses did that forced her to take a stand.
When you file disciplinary reports and complaints, what did your supervisors do?
Nothing. Basically told us you're in a male prison, you've got to live with it.
So Rudolph, along with 24 nurses from around the state, filed this class action lawsuit.
I just knew it was wrong, and this was the only way we were going to get anything done.
And after 6 years of litigation, the suit was settled for $1.3 million taxpayer dollars.
More than half of these 253 state sexual harassment suits involve the Florida Department of Corrections. No other agency even came close. But state universities, Department of Health, Department of Children and Families, and Department of Transportation also had harassment claim payouts.
only on NBC2 tonight, these customers took their concerns to our investigator, Rachel Polansky.
Yeah, Kelly, Peter, I cover a lot of these types of stories, and I have never seen anything like this. This group of more than 50 people is organized. They're mad, and they want justice.
When you're building a custom home, you might expect some hiccups along the way. But none of these customers expected this.
It's pretty emotional for me.
Broken promises.
Because it's all the money we had, you know.
And half-built houses. But that's exactly what happened to Greg and Mary Higgins when they signed on with HD Custom Homes.
What I've paid them is $343,000. But when they gave it to me, it was roughly 50% completed.
And they're not alone.
And how much money are you at a loss?
$220,000.
Ann and Tom Hill say they're going through the same thing.
Because our house is only 45% complete, even though we paid 90% of it.
In fact, every person in this room tells the NBC2 investigators that they were ripped off in some way by HD Custom Homes. The company is owned by Stephen Dukes and Matthew Hardin, so the NBC2 investigators went to their homes for answers.
No one answered the door at Stephen Duke's house, and now we are at co-owner Matthew Hardin's house. But as you can see right here, there is a for sale sign in the front yard and a lockbox on the door. Clearly, nobody's home here either.
But a check on their records revealed that both men still have active construction licenses in our state, something that these customers are trying to change.
They need to be charged with embezzlement and fraud.
The Charlotte County Sheriff's Office tells me that it's currently investigating HD Custom Homes, and it has already received 15 complaints.
We need our retirement money back.
In the meantime, customers who say these builders left them high and dry have come together to submit complaints and letters to the county and to the state.
The numbers have to come in for them to wake up and say, hey, this is a big amount of money that these people are stealing from all the folks down in southern Florida.
And most of these folks tell me it's not about the money anymore. It's a matter of principle.
I mean, I certainly would love to be made whole, but I don't see that happening. So I would just like them to go to jail.
This group is not going to give up. We're not going to let it go away.
Now, something I thought was really interesting here, this group of people actually found each other on Facebook. They started their own Facebook group called HD Owners Unite, and that's how they've been kind of getting to know each other, collaborating, and trying to take these contractors on.
When this North Fort Myers dad drops his daughter off at school,
my daughter's name is Jada.
He worries about how she'll do in class.
She likes reading.
He's never worried about her health until today.
And if there's something that could be seeping through the floor or something somewhere, they should at least check for it once a year.
We told Lee Grooms about radon, the radioactive gas that can enter homes or schools from soil or building materials and seep through cracks and openings in the foundation. It's colorless, odorless, tasteless, and the CDC says it's the #1 cause of lung cancer among non-smokers. Jada Grooms' school, Bayshore Elementary, hasn't tested for radon since 1997.
It's kind of scary to think she's here all day while I'm working and she could be breathing something in, you know.
The NBC2 investigators pulled records from the Florida Department of Health dating back to 1994. And out of the 83 public and private schools that have been tested for radon in Lee County, 64 of them, or 77%, have not been tested since 1996. Out of the 42 that have been tested in Collier County, 37 or 88% of them have not been tested since 1996. And the schools are not doing anything wrong because mandatory radon testing is not required in either county.
To me, as a public health expert, that's frightening.
Dr. Matthew Shabath, an epidemiologist at Moffitt Cancer Center in Tampa, was shocked when we told him about the lack of radon testing taking place in Southwest Florida schools.
The data shows unequivocally there are pockets throughout the state of Florida in any given county, even those low-risk counties, where you can find a given building or a given room within a building where you have very high levels of radon.
And he says this is not a one-time measurement. Just because a classroom tested low for radon 20 years ago does not mean that it will test low today. And that goes both ways. A classroom that once tested high for radon could show low levels today.
It's like a flowing river where it can ebb and flow, and it's something that requires constant measurements over time.
Now, Charlotte County does have to test its schools for radon because of where it's located on this Florida radon protection map, but it's only required in brand new schools. I asked Charlotte County Public School spokesperson Mike Riley if he thinks that all schools should be tested.
We rely upon the experts at the State Department of Education and the state of Florida. If they feel that that's the correct amount of time for us, that's what we're doing.
So what happens if schools do find elevated levels of radon? According to the Florida statute, mitigation is recommended, but the state does not require any action.
The last testing we've done are the 2 newest schools that we've built.
Public records confirm that radon tests were performed at Lemon Bay High School in 2016 and Meadow Park Elementary in 2018. Both schools had low levels of radon.
So what determines a low or high level of radon? The gas is measured in picocuries per liter, and levels of 4 or more is considered hazardous. Since 1994, the NBC2 investigators found 23 schools in Southwest Florida that had classrooms with radon levels over 4 picocuries. In Charlotte County, we found one classroom that hit 38 and another that hit 48. Is this a legitimate concern?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it goes back to the analogy. Would you fill a room with cigarette smoke and let your kids sit in there?
Lee Groom says he wouldn't.
I don't let my kid ride in the car with someone who smokes.
And now he wants some answers from his school district and his state lawmakers.
I would definitely like to know that somebody's checking into it.
Neither the Lee nor Collier County School District agreed to participate in our story. Now, I've also reached out to several lawmakers, and so far, only State Senator Kathleen Passidomo has told me that she's looking into these issues. You can see the last time that your child's school tested for radon and what those levels were at NBC-2.com. For the NBC2 Investigators Tonight, I'm Rachel Polansky.